Hello fellow travelers, my name is SG and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be continuing on with Dante's Inferno with Canto 29. Last time we saw Dante and Virgil. They were making their way through the 8th Bolgia, where they met many different sinners who had their limbs or certain parts of them torn off, and were keep moving. And here we found that they were spirits that didn't exactly regret the decisions they made and were in this sense of torment because they are meant to repent at some point. And we also met a creature who is kind of like a headless horseman such character, who doesn't just use his head to throw, but rather he uses it as a lantern to light the way. Well, from there, let's continue on, shall we? The many people in the divers' wounds, these eyes of mine had so inebriated, that they were wishful to stand still and weep. But said Virgilius, "What dost thou still gaze at? Why is thy sight still riveted down there among the mournful and mutilated shades? Thou hast not done so that the elder Bolgia. Consider if to count them thou believest, that 22 miles the valley winds, and now the moon is underneath our feet. Henceforth the time allotted us is brief, and more is to be seen than what thou seest." "If thou hadst," I made answer thereupon, "attended to the cause for which I looked, perhaps a longer stay thou wouldst have pardoned." Meanwhile my guide departed, and behind him I went, already making my reply, and still rambling. In that cavern, where I held my eyes with such attention fixed, I think a spirit of my blood laments the sin which down below there cost so much. Then said the master, "Be no longer broken. Thy thought from the time forward upon him, attend elsewhere, and there let him remain. For him I saw below the little bridge, pointing at thee and threatening with his finger fiercely, and heard him called Gelli de Bello. So wholly at the time wast thou impeded by him who formerly held Alta Forte. Thou didst not look that way, so he departed." "O my conductor, his own violent death, which is not yet avenged for him," I said, "by any who is sharer in the shame, made him disdainful, whence he went away, as I imagined, without speaking to me, and thereby made me pity him the more." Thus did we speak as far as the first place, upon the crag which the next valley shows down to the bottom, if there were more light, when we were right over the last cloister of Malbolgia, so that it lays brothers could manifest themselves unto our sight. Divers lamenting pierced me through and through, which was compassion had their arrows barbed through at mine ears. I covered with my hands what pain would be if from the hospitals of Valaticina, twixt July and September, and of Marmima and Sardinia, all the diseases in one mote were gathered. Such was it here, and such stench came from it, as from perchant limbs is wont to issue. We had descended on the furthest bank, from the last crag upon the left hand still, and then more vivid was my power of sight, down towards the bottom, where the many stress of the high Lord Justice infallible punishes fingers which she were records. I do not think a sadder sight to see was in Aegina, the whole people sick, when was the air so full of pestilence. The animals down to little worms all fell, and afterwards the ancient peoples, according as the poets have affirmed, were from the seed of ants restored again. Then was it to behold through the dark valley that spirits languishing in divers heaps, this on the belly, that upon the back one of the other lay, and others crawling shifted themselves along the dismal road. We step by step went onward without speech, gazing upon and listening to the sick, who had not strength enough to lift their bodies. I saw two sitting leaned against each other, as leans in heating platter against platter, from head to foot bespotted over with scars, and never saw I piled a curry combed by a stable boy for whom his master waits, or him who keeps awake unwillingly, as every one was plying fast the bite, one nail upon himself, for the great rage of itching which no other scourer had, and the nails downward with them dragged the scab, in fashion as a knife and the scales of brim, or any other fish that had them largest. O thou, what with fingers dost dismal thee, began my leader upon one of them. O thou, with thy fingers dost dismal thee, began my leader upon one of them, and makest of them pincer now and then. Tell me if any Latian is with those who are herein, so may they nails suffice thee to all eternity unto this work. Latent are we, who thou so waste seest, both of us here, one weeping made reply. But who art thou that questionest about us? And said the guide, One am I who descends down with this living man from cliff to cliff, and I intend to show hell unto him. Then broken was their mutual support, and trembling each one turned himself to me, with others who had heard him by rebound. Wholly to me did the good master gather, saying, Say unto them whatever thou wishest. And I began, since he would have it so. So may your memory not steal away in the first world from out the minds of man, but so may I survive neath many suns. And to say me who ye are, and what people, let not your foul and loathsome punishment make you afraid to show yourselves to me. I of Arezzo was, one made reply, and Albert of Siena had me burned, but what I died for does not bring me here. 'Tis true, I said to him, speaking in jest, that I could rise by flight into the air, and he who had conceit but little wit would have me show to him the art, but only because no Daedalus I had made me be burned by one who held him as his son. But on to the last Bolgia of the 10, for alchemy, which is the world I practiced, Minos, who cannot err, has me condemned. And to the poet I said, Now was ever so vain a people as the Ciences? Not for the certainty, the French by far. Or at the other lepers, who had heard me, replied unto my speech, Take our Styrica, who knew the art of moderate expenses, and Nicola, who had the luxurious use of clovers discovered earliest of all, within that garden which such seeds takes root, and taking out the band among whom quandered Scacia de Ascension, his vineyards and vast woods, and where his wit the Abigaltiat proffered. But that thou know who thus doth second thee against the Cience, who makes sharp thine eye towards me, that my face well answered thee, and thou shalt see I am Copicius shade, who metals falsified by alchemy. Thou must remember, if I will descry thee, how I a skillful ape of nature was. Alright, now that we've read the chapter, let's talk about it, shall we? Here we know that Dante and Virgil are in the 10th Bolgia, and this is the Bolgia of alchemy. This is where people who practice basically a super advanced version of magic would end up for either being trickery or for being against kind of God in that scenario. And they confirm that sometimes they did trick people and sometimes they get caught for it. But alchemy is the main reason this Bolgia even exists. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please come back next week. We're almost to the end of this, so I hope to see you guys in the coming weeks to at least see the end of where we are now. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. I would really appreciate it myself. Thanks again for watching, and hope you guys have a great day. See ya.